Okay, so I want to just talk to you shortly about ego and our definition of ego, so it's very important that we know what we're talking about. Ego is basically the part of ourselves that insists that separation is real and limitation is real. And so at the heart of ego, you could say, is fear and desire. And if you look at your experience, you can probably see that most human beings are suffering because they think they're separate and isolated and alone. And in a lot of ways, because we're in an egocentric culture where we all think we're isolated, separate, and alone, that's our experience, that we're isolated, separate, and alone. But the deep spiritual truth is that we're not separate, we're not alone, and we're not isolated. We're actually already together. So what the Awaken Life Project spends a lot of time in is we start looking at the movement of ego, the activity of ego. It's not a big boogeyman that you have to be afraid of. It's all part of an evolutionary process, so it's not negative in one sense. But it is something that we have to look into, and most people bypass this. But when we start to be able to see this movement of separation arising in ourselves, and we know that it's not real, the experience of it arising is real, but the act of actual separation is not real. So when you can understand that, and you can start understanding the movement of ego, and you can see, all the stuff that arises in you that's, being competitive, being jealous, being arrogant, being superior, these are all characteristics of ego. So in the Awaken Life Project and in the retreats that we'll be doing in Colombia, we're going to be talking a lot about the specific characteristics of this movement of ego so that people can transcend it and be able to live the truth of unity.